Nou, Tracy McQuarrie van DogtownSA kuier vanoggend by ons en ons gesels natuurlik oor jou hond en jou hond se goeie maniere. Good morning, Tracy.
Morning.
Tracy, let's start with, we often speak about training your dog. Is training your dog really necessary? Some people will go, you know, it's not natural to train your dog, but does training your dog make them happy and balanced?
It really does. We expect dogs to live in our human world, which is very different. Things that we think are important are not important to dogs at all. Things that we think are annoying behaviours are totally natural to dogs. So if we do some training, like teach them to live in this crazy human world we're asking them to, it really helps them to be more relaxed. They know what's expected of them. We know that they know what's expected of them, and it just really builds a more harmonious relationship.
It's important also to, I think, train the owner of a dog a little.
Yes.
Yeah, we need to be trained as well in how to work with dogs.
A lot of people genuinely believe the dogs come ready programmed. You know, I always try to compare it to, you know, your child goes to school, they learn stuff. You know, if they didn't learn maths and their times tables, they wouldn't be able to do certain things. And like, we have to teach the dogs. What we're asking the dogs to do is not natural for them. So when they don't know what's expected, they become really anxious, and that ends up giving us undesirable behaviours.
And we've also spoken about within a household, making sure that everyone is doing the same thing, giving the same message, that Pierre doesn't give one message, I give another message, for example, and the poor dog that's standing there doesn't know actually what to do.
Yeah, consistency is always king.
Tell me, what is considered good manners for dogs?
So it's basically our opinion what's good manners. So people generally want their dog to be able to sit nicely or lie down and behave themselves, not jump up on people, come to them when they're called. And it's all behaviours that they need to learn to be able to, you know, be in an environment with us that doesn't make people angry or upset. And a lot of those things are not natural. It's not natural for a dog to go lie down while new people are coming into their environment. You know, normally they would be, if they were dogs, they'd be all in there jumping over each other,
Sniffing,
playing and sniffing. And so we're asking them to do something really unnatural. But if you put the effort in, and it becomes a rewarding behaviour for them to go and do that, they're going to do it, and they know that's what you expect them to do.
Someone in my ear just said, how do you potty train your dog? So I've got one dog and my dogs are really good going outside, except for I've got one dog that likes making his mark in the house and I don't know why. But how do you train your dog to not do any of his business in the house?
So basically what we really want to do is let them know when they go potty outside, that is like the best thing. So you become kind of a dog stalker, and every time your dog goes outside and they do the toilet outside, it's like a party. So, I mean, they're going outside, they're, you know, casually doing a little wee or something, and then you're like, woo, way to go, what a dog, party.
Basically like you do with your babies growing up as well, yes.
Yes, you know, when they go on the potty, it's like, woo, you're all jumping, and it's exactly like that. You reward your dog when they go and potty outside, and then what happens is they realise if I potty inside, like, nothing happens. Everyone's kind of like, Mom gets a bit grumpy because now she's cleaning up. But when I do it outside, there's treats, there's a little party, everybody's celebrating. I'm going to do it out there. It's much better, much more fun when I do it out there.
Now, is it easy to teach any aged dog? I mean, it's people say you don't train potty, for instance, early enough. The dog's never going to listen to you. Or does that imply to everything? Is there different ages where certain dogs learn things easier?
You know, it's that whole silly saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah.
You can teach a dog any age. All that happens is it takes a little longer to train something as they're older because they've built up a couple of bad habits. They've been rewarded for a behaviour we don't like. So it takes a bit longer, but again, if you're consistent and you're rewarding a certain behaviour, they can learn. I mean, at our shelter, we have a part of our shelter that is called Shady Pines. It's for the retirement dogs. The dogs 10 years up.
Huisartsblad, yeah.
And those dogs go on to training classes and learn stuff. I mean, they can't do as much physically because they're a bit older, but their brains are sharp. They can learn.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful to notice. I think the other thing that I often notice is, and we're on our suburb, we're like on a little WhatsApp group, and you see these messages coming through going, whose dog is this? Or does anyone know who the owner is and whatnot? And very often they have to take the dog to a shelter or something because no one actually knows and there's no way of finding out. And that's where something like a chipping becomes quite important. For people that still don't know what chipping is, just give us a brief explanation.
It is a lifesaver for many dogs. Basically, if you go to your vet or your local shelter generally offer to do chipping, it's a little thing that gets inserted under their skin. If a dog is found, when they go to the vet or the shelter, there's a little machine, they just scan that chip, it comes up with the owner's details. We can contact the owners and say, hey, we've picked up your dog, can you come and fetch it? What happens a lot of time is, and it's a bit of an issue, like people will see a dog on the way to work, maybe pick up the dog, drive to work, which is far from where the dog actually was picked up, take it to a local SPCA or shelter in that area, and the problem there is the chances of that owner finding the dog there are very slim. But, you know, if people generally have to put photographs up everywhere, posters up everywhere, vets at the shelters, contact all the local SPCAs. But if it had that chip, as soon as it got there, a scan would happen and we'd be able to contact those owners straight away and say...
And it doesn't hurt a dog, and it is important and can save their lives.
Absolutely. It's not so, it's a little prick, it's a tiny little... and most people generally, when their dogs have gone in to be sterilised or something, do the chip at the same time.
Yeah.
Now, if I have a dog that doesn't want to stay in my yard, because a lot of people have that one little Jack Russell that jumps a high fence.
It's always a Jack Russell.
It's always a Jack Russell. What do I do? How do I keep my animals safe in my yard?
It's really important. I think one of the biggest issues when dogs are getting out is it's been a visitor or a gardener or builders on site that have left a gate open and they've escaped. That is one of the main reasons dogs are getting out. If they are an escape artist, it's a little bit more difficult. You're going to have to Houdini-proof your garden and make your garden more interesting than out there.
Make it more interesting.
And sterilisation really helps with that. You know, if you've got
That's not interesting.
That's
taking the fun out of the dog, isn't it?
If you've got a male Jack Russell that's unsterilised and he smells a female dog on heat, nothing's more interested in the garden. He's going to work his way to try and get out. And, you know, it's not just them getting out and getting lost. They can get hurt. It's really not worth it. It's rather invest, you know, in the sterilisation, in dog-proofing your garden and making it a fun place to be.
You know what? So I had a little dog and we just moved to a new house. And once we moved to that house, the dog would actually climb through the window and then kind of run outside in the front because no one would then know if they open the gate that she would actually be able to get there.
Scottish Terrier. Because then it'll run out and go, freedom!
Well, it was my little Yorkie that kept doing that. And the thing is, then I realised that that's the thing, like being aware of your environment. So I realised that she can fit through those windows. I didn't know that. And so now I have to make sure that those windows are actually closed because otherwise she jumps out. The other thing is, like, if I open the gate for delivery services and my dogs do go out, that as soon as that gate opens, like, they run and it's like exploring. But I suppose they are all chipped, and so that does make a difference. So if I don't chase them down the street, I know if they get lost, which I have done, they are chipped, and that way their lives can be saved. But I suppose you have certain dogs, and maybe you can correct me with this, certain dogs that would run from your garden, just sniff, 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 but they will always come back home. And then I've got, like, one that just likes exploring and they will probably get lost. Does it depend on the breed of whether they will actually find their way back home or not?
It actually depends on the dog more than the breed. You've probably got more than two Yorkies.
Yes, I've got 4.
So one Yorkie will go sniff, one will run and come back. It really depends on their, you know, they're all individuals. It depends on their personality. Some will be like, I always remember when I was young, we had a little Maltese poodle. And that boy, we didn't know as much then. He wasn't sterilised. And I'm telling you, when we got home from school and we opened that gate, if we were not slick, he was out. And the worst thing you can do is chase them, because then they're like, yes,
They
what a
think it's
game.
a
Let's
game.
run. Yeah.
Yes.
So a reliable recall is probably one of the best good manner things you can teach your dog, so that they know, you know, if you call their name, no matter what's happening, they come back.
But that takes training as well, because I
Yeah.
mean, you can shout your name's dog, Diesel, hou op, stop doing that. But Diesel, kom terug. It's the same voice.
And the problem is, if you're teaching them, come back, and they're not listening to you, you basically have now taught them that that word means nothing. So it's got to be, when you're training that behaviour, you've got to be like 99.9% sure they're going to come back when you use that word. Otherwise, it just becomes white noise to them.
Wow. Tracy, thank you so much for your time today and helping us teach people and ourselves how to keep our dogs obviously trained and happy and healthy. More than that, also safe. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much.
Dit is natuurlijk Tracy McQuarrie van DogtownSA.